Hello and welcome to this Moneycontrol live stream. It's a brand new show, a brand new day, and the cues coming out of global markets aren't all that great. But yesterday we did manage to stage a comeback amid fag and buying. So looks like we could make a dash at all-time highs today. I'm Nandita Khemka and you're watching Morning Trade with me on Moneycontrol. Over the next 30 minutes we'll be talking about all the cues for trade, all the stocks to watch out for today, and we'll be getting you some hot stock picks from our experts as well. And we'll also be getting all your stock-related queries answered by our experts on the show. So if you have any queries, send them in to us on our YouTube feed as usual and we'll have them addressed. But before we do all that, let's take a look at the top headlines at this hour. Wall Street corrects for the second straight session as trading resumes following the extended weekend. Asian markets too trade lower while the SGX Nifty indicates a weak start for the Indian market. Gold hits a 3-month low as strong US housing data and a firm dollar weigh in on safe haven demand. Competition heats up in the skies. A day after Indigo's record 500 aircraft order, Air India signs purchase agreements for 470 aircraft at the Paris Air Show in line with its ambitious fleet renewal and expansion strategy. The order includes 470 planes from Boeing and Airbus. Competition Commission grants HDFC approval to raise its stake in HDFC Life Insurance and HDFC Ergo to above 50%, paving the way for the merger of HDFC and HDFC Bank. Lots of stocks in focus today. We'll be talking about DeMart, Pidilite and RVNL among others, and we'll also be getting you updates on the IdeaForge IPO that's been much awaited on the Lal Street. And Prime Minister Modi meets key CEOs and thought leaders on the first day of his US visit. Meanwhile, Tesla chief Elon Musk remains optimistic of announcing an India investment in the not too distant future after his meeting with PM Modi. And he also calls India a great place for solar energy investment. Well, let me now get on board our first expert on the show. Pankaj Pandey, who's the head retail research at ICICIDIRECT, is joining in this morning. Good morning, Pankaj. We have been knocking on those all-time highs for, over a week now, but that has been evading us. But do you think on this yoga day, the bulls will be given some kind of relief and we will manage to clock that all-time high and then, get it out of the way?
So hi, good morning, Nandita. Thanks for having me. So very difficult to say whether we will be able to sort of touch new highs today. But our sense is that since March, we haven't seen much of a correction in the Nifty. I mean, corrections have not been more than 400 points. And which is why I feel that even if there is a consolidation at higher levels, because obviously there is some bit of a nervousness at peak levels. But even with that, also I think our sense is that we may not see a sort of a bigger correction, so probably 300, 400 points kind of a correction, and which is why I feel that 18,400 is a good support for the market. And our sense is that probably this month we'll touch a new high, and probably towards the in the month of July, levels like 19,300 is on the cards.
All right, 19,300 levels by July. But, let me talk about, investment strategy. Should one look at going all in right now, or should one keep their powder dry and wait for some kind of a dip to get into the market?
So, Nandita, when you sort of look at, we are already seeing sector rotation sort of panning out. One, when you look at, say, within Nifty pack, you have the entire BFSI as a space, which is not doing much. Because we had already seen past 1.5 months kind of a rally in the Nifty Bank. So from that perspective, we are already seeing sector rotation panning out. Similarly, mid caps, small caps are now sort of doing very well. So our sense is that probably some of this might witness a rotation. So for example, mid cap, small cap, probably there could be some profit taking on the cards. Whereas on the Nifty, I think Bank Nifty looks attractive from current levels, and our sense is that that will help Nifty to sort of achieve levels like 19,300, which I just mentioned.
Right, I want to get in your thoughts on Tata Motors. It's seen a good rally come in, numbers were pretty good. And, the stock is now perched at 7-year highs. The sentiment when it comes to this stock has really turned positive. Should one play the auto theme via Tata Motors, or is it time to look at something like a Maruti?
So we like the entire auto as a theme, both Tata Motors and Maruti. So Tata Motors, when you sort of look at most of their businesses started firing. So One, I think what we are sensing is that when you sort of look at their domestic segments, CV as a segment never used to make double-digit margins, but now companies confident of achieving double-digit margins, which they sort of did last year and sustaining that. Similarly, on the PV side, margins are high single digits and expected to sort of go up to double digits. I think JLR front company is talking in terms of better margins plus better volumes. And I think a lot looks believable in terms of when they say that they're going to sort of prune down their debt levels. So this company, after 4 years, has made profits. After 7 years, they've sort of declared a dividend. So in Tata Motors, we have a target price of 650. And for Maruti, when we look at our target is about 11,000. I think Maruti, the missing piece was the EV portfolio, and I think that has started firing. We are seeing the demand for newer products, especially in the EV side. In fact, last month sales, the EV contribution was the highest. And since we haven't seen much of a price performance from this stock for a good period of time, so our sense is that auto as the entire theme looks good. And also when you sort of look at in India, interest rates appear to have sort of peaked out. So declining interest rate scenario is also sort of having a positive rub-off on the entire auto as a pack.
Right, there's a positive view coming in on the auto pack. But aside of auto, any high conviction buys in the market, Pankaj? What would you bet on now?
So one sector, Nandita, which hasn't really sort of done well is the pharma. I mean, our sense is that last 2 years, this sector hasn't sort of done much. Although the numbers have started to sort of incrementally improve. So I think benefit of sector rotation will sort of play out in pharma. And in pharma, I mean, we like the tier 1 names like Sun Pharma, DRL, and also some of the CRAMS players like, say, Divi's. So I think most of these players had a tough time in the last 1.5 years. We have seen good amount of price correction there. But our sense is that valuations look reasonable. There is improvement in the horizon, especially even for companies which are sort of exporting to US. The specialty portfolio for Sun Pharma has been sort of doing well. I think DV's, which witnessed a significant drop in gross margin from 60 to 50%, our sense is that towards the end of this year, largely that should sort of normalize. So I think pharma looks interesting from a sector rotation perspective, and valuations are not really demanding there.
Right, that's one view coming in on pharma sector rotation at play, and pharma may in fact benefit. But let me also get in your thoughts on the aviation space. This pack, in fact, the aviation space has been buzzing for a couple of months now, especially since the Go First saga. Now, Indigo, of course, has placed a mega order, which is the biggest in history. Do you think all this is already in the price, given the fact that the stock has done pretty well this year itself, or do you think there's another leg of rally waiting to happen in Indigo?
So when you sort of look at from a macro perspective, we had about 13 crore flyers, and I think this number is sort of inching up. And given the overall population size, this number is obviously looking quite attractive. But so we have not been sort of looking at these companies from a fundamental perspective, largely because I think there is a lot of volatility in margins, and then you have price caps for sectors, and also we are still not very clear whether you'll see auctions happening for time slots. So I think there are a number of unknown variables according to us, and which is why, despite the positive overall macros turning up, we are still not sort of chasing this sector, but it's an interesting opportunity.
Right, interesting opportunity. That's about the aviation space. With that, Pankaj, thanks a lot for taking out time and joining in this morning. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, let's also bring on board our next guest for today. Joining us is Vibhor. Vibhor, hi, good morning. Good to have you on the show. When you look at the Nifty, we saw a fagend buying come in yesterday. Do you expect that, a leg of up move to continue in today's session? Or would you say that, in line with global cues, we may see some bit of weakness and fatigue setting in today's session as well?
Hi, good morning. And definitely Nifty has been closed to the high, and especially Nifty closed almost at near to day's high yesterday as well. So definitely there will be a little bit momentum continuation, but probably unless and until FII puts up some money as well, because if you look at the last 2-3 sessions, FII have been pulling out the money. They have been the sellers in cash market. So definitely they need a momentum to put up on Nifty, and there will be a slight pause, but the momentum is still in bullish mode.
Right. What about the Nifty Bank? Even the banking pack managed to stage a very smart comeback. Private banks were under pressure for the last few sessions. Yesterday, I think HDFC Bank also managed to stage a good comeback in the second half of the session. Anything you're liking in the banking space now? And what are the levels that you would be watching out for on the Nifty Bank specifically today?
Specifically, if you look at the Nifty Bank chart, you will be surprised to see 43,300 levels, 43,350 levels have been defending from a long time, especially started from 12th of May. This was the first time, then probably on 25th of May, and this from last 2-3 days, this 43,300 has been defending. So unless and until the market, especially Bank Nifty index on spot closes below the 43,300, do not aggressively start going on the short side, and probably this 44,000 and 44,200 can be witnessed in upcoming week in Bank Nifty. Especially the next week we will witness a short covering rally as well.
Right. Let's talk about specific stocks then. The stock of the day today for me would be Shri Ram Finance, given the fact that, sources suggest that Piramal Enterprises is looking to sell its entire 8.3% stake via block deal, and the floor price is likely around 1483, which is at a 5% discount to CMP. Yesterday, we saw what happened with HDFC, AMC, Aberdeen, in fact, sold its entire stake and the stock was up somewhere around 8% or thereabouts. Do you expect Shri Ram Finance to do what an HDFC, AMC did in trade yesterday?
If I look at the technical perspective view, definitely there is a bearish engulfing kind of a pattern on Shri Ram Transport Finance, and the stock has touched almost 1400 levels, but unable to cross and sustain 1400 levels. As of now, the stock has made an inside bar pattern, so definitely there can be a little robust view on the downside. Probably stock can touch 1340, 1350 levels.
Right, since we are getting a lot of queries on the from the banking and financial space, let's take up a few of them. Vignesh wants to know your thoughts on Muthoot Finance. He wants to know whether we can expect a short-term target of somewhere around 1250 or 1300 on the stock. What are your own thoughts?
Muthoot Finance has been in the process of filling out the gap which was filled in, the gap which was made out in August 2022. So there was a fall of 12%, and this is the time where the stock has been filling out this gap, and definitely there is a outburst rally. The stock has almost from 900 levels to 1200 as of now. So there can be a slight pause at 1210, 1220 levels. This was the point where the stock has tumbled down in last August 2022, and once this is crossed and sustains, definitely there is another gap at 1300 levels, and that can be witnessed to build out.
Right, that's the call on Muthoot. But let's talk about IDFC First Bank. Now, this bank has been in a steady uptrend, in fact, knocking at its 52-week highs. We have a query coming in from Hemant Jaju, and he wants to know the targets to watch out for in the coming months. The stock ended at the high point yesterday as well. Do you expect levels of somewhere around 90 or 100 on the stock in the near future now?
Definitely the fundamentals have been changing of IDFC First Bank. We have witnessed a rally in a short-term phase, probably in 2 months from 52 to 82. So there can be a small profit booking, but definitely the momentum is being bullish on IDFC First Bank. And the best part is the management keeps coming out, the management keeps making a positive statement. The banking sector has been positive as well. So definitely there can be a levels of 90 and 100 as you said, but there will be a lot kind of a pressure. But as the stock has rallied, probably in 2 months or 3 months, we can witness out 100.
Right, that's the call on IDFC First Bank. I also want to get in your thoughts on HDFC Life. Now, life insurance companies have managed to stage a good comeback post the budget. HDFC Life was up somewhere around 3% yesterday. Now, of course, there is news flow that CCI has approved the acquisition of additional shares by HDFC in HDFC Life and HDFC Ergo as well. So, if you look at the charts for HDFC Life, Again, it is very close to its 52-week highs. What are the kind of levels you would be watching out for on the charts on the upside for this one?
First of all, definitely there is a momentum not only in HDFC Life but other insurance companies as well. We witnessed ICICI as well. Now we are witnessing about HDFC Life. So there is a clear case of flag breakout. The best part is with good volumes. The volumes have been phenomenal in last 2-3 days sessions, and popping out this news would be like a cherry on cake. So levels we can witness are somewhat around 680. This is the level of junction of resistance, 680, then probably 700 levels, and the momentum can continue to be bullish out to 700.
Right, momentum remains bullish. Let's take up a query on Heritage Food then. This one is coming in from Madineni, and she wants your thoughts on this stock. If you look at the stock, it's trading somewhere around 214 or thereabouts. Once again, edging towards 52-week highs over the last 5 sessions, hasn't really done much. But in the last 1 month, it has gained somewhere around 11% or thereabouts. Would you advise investors to look at this stock now?
As of now, I would suggest not to enter. The reason is being very simple. From March 17, the stock was trading at somewhat 135 levels. Now it's trading at 214. So there is already a massive rally already being ahead. And about looking at the technical chart, the stock has made a multiple inside bar. This is a clear case. The stock is not able to cross 220 levels. If you log out at from 26th May, that is almost like 15 sessions. The stock is not able to cross and sustain 220 levels. So either if someone wants to enter for a fresh buying positions, clearly enter once the stock manages to sustain above 220. Or if someone is already in book profits, kindly trail your stop loss with the 202 levels.
Right, it's actually an avoid as Vibhor just mentioned. So let's talk about DeMart, Vibhor. The stock was attempting to come back above that 4,000 mark, and it did manage to do so on Friday. But once again, this week it has come under a fair bit of pressure. And this morning there is news that Dheeraj Kampani has resigned as the Vice President of Buying and Merchandising Division. Stock has been attempting to make a comeback after not so great earnings. Would you expect it to touch or retest its life highs anytime soon, or do you think the stock is headed lower?
Definitely not lifetime high soon. The reason is the lifetime high soon was somewhat around 6,000, precisely to be 5,900, right? So definitely from 3,900 to 5,900, definitely it took a lot of volume, lot of efforts to stock to go up, and especially the earning sessions. So earning sessions for these kind of stocks starts at October, nearby to Diwali or prior to those seasons. So definitely there can be a little bit pause in this stock, and once the stock manages to close 4,100, there can be a small spike till the levels of 4,300 or 4,400 for a short-term purpose.
Right. I also want to get in your thoughts on Blue Dart. Now, there has been an upgrade coming in on the stock from Motilal Oswal. The brokerage has upgraded the stock to buy with a target price of 8,000 rupees or thereabouts. It's currently somewhere around 6,700 or thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken. The brokerage believes that lower ATF prices will support margins. In fact, the company has added 2 aircrafts to its fleet, and because of that, the volumes will also get a boost. And the company is already focusing on increasing its market share in e-commerce as well. And the brokerage expects EBITDA margin to rise to 13 to 14% from 10 to 11% in the second half of the current fiscal. How would you play a Blue Dart Express now? Do you think there could be some level of, in fact, some more upside to this 8,040 in the next 8 to 9 months possible on the stock?
Definitely, if you look out at the stock rallying from 5,600 to now 6,700, but definitely this is not a rally which can be paused easily. The reason is, if you look out at volumes, yesterday's volume was 59,000 on NSE bourse, but whereas the unusual volumes are somewhat around 10,000, 11,000. So definitely there was a spike in volume with a flag breakout on technical aspect. And the reason why they have upgraded target is a rounding bottom pattern which can complete to 8,000, and once this is crossed, definitely there can be a level of 9,300, 9,200, but definitely that will take time because the fundamentals have been changing. So this lower ATF prices will result out in next 3 to 4 quarters.
Right, that's the call on Blue Dart. Let's take up a query on Zydus Life then. This one is coming in from Udesh here, and he wants to know your views on this stock. Now, this stock has done fairly well on a YTD basis. It's up 32% or thereabouts, and knocking at 52-week highs as well. What are the levels one should be watching out for on this counter, Vibhor?
If you talk about Zydus Life, you will be surprised to know that exactly this is the same level where the stock started to fall in August 2021. The stock was consolidating in August 2021, somewhat around 555, 560, and it tumbled down brutally. But when it started to come back, now the rally have been amazed from like 480 to now almost 560. So there is almost a rally of 15% around in a short-term basis. As of now, the stock has made a shooting star pattern and an inside bar pattern on the last 2 days of technical chart, and the volumes have little bit dried up as well, right? So once the stock manages to close about 560 or 565, so there can be a short-term rally, and this rally can extend up to somewhat around 590 or probably 600.
Right, that's the call on Zydus. Let's talk about Pidilite. This one had a pretty volatile session yesterday, but has been in a fairly good uptrend. This morning there is news flow that the company is in JV with 2 Italian firms for cutting-edge stone fixing solutions, and it has opened, in fact launched manufacturing facilities in Gujarat as well. Pidilite, how should one approach this one? Is it time to buy into this one, or it's a hold or sell? How would you look at this stock?
See, as of now, if you look at the chart, you will be there will be a multiple inside bar pattern on the chart from last 5 days. So this was started on 13 June, and after that 14, probably 15, 16 and 19 and probably 20 as well. So last 5 days the stock is trading into the same range which it was trading into the 13 June. So probably the range is almost like 80 points bracket. So as of now, it would be in a watch list. Once the stock manages to close or move out above this inside bar or below this inside bar bracket, so definitely it can rally or it can give a breakout or a breakdown. Once it closes above this, so there will be an upside of 2790 and probably 2800.
Right, those are the views to watch out for on Pidilite. Another query coming in from Krish on Exide Industries. Now, most of these auto ancillary stocks are doing pretty well. Exide, in fact, yesterday was up 4% in the session. What are the targets one should be watching out for on this one?
Exide was on my radar as well because it was giving out me a breakout as well as the good volumes of 6 millions. That is definitely more than average volume. Average volumes in Exide is somewhat around 1 million, 1.5 millions. So definitely you can keep a bullish momentum on Exide, keeping a stop loss of somewhat around 213, which is close to yesterday's low, and popping out the target somewhat around just 1 second, somewhat around 240. So the risk reward seems to be very favorable.
Right, that's the view on Exide then. And of course, we've come to the end of the query segment with this. We are running out of time. But Vibhor, before I let you go, leave us with some stock recommendations for our viewers this morning.
All right. So I have picked up 3 stocks from different categories and different sectors as well, starting with Dealing. Dealing yesterday has made a good volume of almost, I can say, 2 millions. That is more than an average volumes. And there was a clear case of breakout. The stock was in consolidation from almost 15 sessions. So my levels would be stock is trading at 251, keeping out a stop loss of 235 for a target of 280. And second, we were just talking about in this session as well, that is Tata Motors. We were talking about that auto and auto ancillary stocks have been moving on a good junction. So Tata Motors have given a multiple inside bar breakout or a flag breakout. Stock is trading at 583, keeping a stop loss of 570 for a target of a short term for 610. And the last one for my from my end would be Nippon. Nippon has given out a good move with a good volumes of 1 million yesterday. The best part is stock has made a short-term bottom at 242 levels. So stock is trading at 252. Stop loss would be 242 and a target of 280. So these would be 3 picks from mine.
All right, so those are the 3 picks from Vibhor Varshney of Vighnahara Invest. Thanks a lot for joining in this morning and sharing all your thoughts with us. Let me also bring our viewers some updates about the IdeaForge IPO. The IPO dates have been announced. It's a much awaited IPO and it will hit the streets on the 26th of June and close on the 29th of June. And the price band has also been fixed between 638 to 672 rupees a piece. We'll of course be getting you all the details on the subscription and anchor book as well as we go ahead. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Morning Trade. Thanks a lot for watching, but don't go anywhere because coming up next is Opening Bell.